They say every village has its secrets, but Nneoma's secret was alive. In the heart of the forest, under the pale moonlight, an ancient flame sleeps, a flame that chooses its bearer. And when Adesuwa, a young mother, hears the whispers in the dark, her life changes forever. What begins as a voice in the shadows soon grows into a battle between the living and the spirit world, where trust crumbles, fear spreads like fire, and the line between savior and curse is blurred. This is not just a tale of one woman. It is the story of Nneoma itself, a village caught between tradition and terror, between sacrifice and survival. Welcome, dear listeners, to the Shadows of Nneoma, brought to you by Koslans Studio, a place where stories come alive, and shadows find their voice. Settle in. The night is long, and the shadows are waiting. The village of Nneoma slept under a pale moon. But Adesuwa could not sleep. Something was calling her. A voice. Low, ancient, like wind rustling through broken leaves. She followed it into the woods, her heart racing. There, in the silence, a shadow wrapped around her chest. A flame ignited inside her. Izima had awoken. And Adesuwa's life would never be the same again. Morning in Nneoma. The compound buzzed with gossip, but inside Adesuwa's home, silence hung heavy. Amoka watched her sister closely, sensing something had changed. Colonel, always distant, now avoided her gaze. Then came the letter, slipped beneath the door at night, written in strange ink. Adesuwa unfolded it with trembling hands. The words inside whispered of a curse, and of a destiny tied to her blood. By dusk, a stranger entered Nneoma. His name was Obi, a journalist who claimed he came for stories. But his eyes, sharp, knowing, followed Adesuwa too closely. That night, she caught him speaking with Colonel at the compound gate, their voices tense. Who was Obi really? And why did Colonel's hands shake as though holding back secrets too heavy for one man? The market was alive with noise, laughter, and color. Yet beneath the sound of traders and haggling, Adesuwa heard another rhythm, the steady pulse of fear. Mama Fadik, the old herbalist, pulled her aside. Child, she whispered, eyes glowing, you carry a fire that is not yours. Beware Izima, for she is hungry. Adesuwa's hands shook. How could Mama Fadik know of the voice inside her chest? The compound shook with screams. A hut had caught fire, flames tearing through straw and wood. Adesuwa ran toward the blaze, but the villagers looked at her with fear. Whispers caught the air, she brought this. And in that moment, Adesuwa realized the fire was not from the hut, it was from her. Izima's laughter echoed in her head as sparks danced on her skin. The curse had found its weakness. In the shrine of ancestors, Amoka lit a single candle. She took Adesuwa's trembling hands and pressed a blade against her palm. Blood spilled, mixing with her own. No matter what comes, Amoka swore, we fight together. But in the shadows, Izima purred with delight. A blood oath was more than loyalty, it was an invitation. That night, Colonel disappeared. Adesuwa followed him through winding paths to the abandoned yamban at the edge of the village. There, he knelt before a broken mask, whispering names as though in prayer. Tears streamed down his face. Brother, forgive me. In that moment, Adesuwa knew, Colonel carried a burden heavier than any curse. When the cries came from the riverbank, the hunters gathered, weapons ready. Something had slaughtered the goats, something not human. Adesuwa felt Izima stirring as the hunters prepared their chase. But when the beast emerged, eyes glowing, claws dripping blood, it bowed to Adesuwa before fleeing into the night. The village saw it. And whispers grew louder, she commands the monsters. Obi's notebook fell from his satchel. Amoka picked it up, and her heart froze. Every page was filled with Adesuwa's name, her movements, her secrets, and a single headline scribbled in ink, the girl with the demon flame. Obi was no simple traveler, he was hunting a story that could destroy them all. Together they journeyed to the House of Silence, a shrine carved into stone where no voice rose above a whisper. Inside, Adesuwa faced her own reflection, lips moving though no sound came. Amoka trembled as visions of her worst fears pressed against her skin. Colonel screamed, yet no one heard. And Obi. Obi stood alone, as the silence stripped him of every lie he had ever told. In the ruins of an old shrine, Adesuwa found it, a cracked wooden mask, painted in fading red. The moment her fingers touched it, her chest burned. Izima's voice thundered, "At last, you see me." The mask shimmered, glowing faintly, as though alive. Amoka begged her to leave it. But Adesuwa could not. For in its hollow eyes, she saw her own reflection staring back. At dawn, the drums of Nneoma sounded, not for celebration, but for warning. The elders gathered, fear etched on their faces. A rival clan was marching toward them, claiming Izima's curse had spread through the land. Warriors sharpened their machetes, arrows were dipped in fire. And in the middle of it all, Adesuwa stood, torn between the village she loved and the power she could not control. When the moon rose, Amoka was summoned by the elders. "Your sister is dangerous," they warned. "Choose the village, or choose her." Tears filled her eyes as she stood between loyalty to her people and blood tied by oath. At last, she whispered, "I will not betray her." But deep inside, fear gnawed at her soul. Could Adesuwa truly be saved? Obi sat with Adesuwa by the river, his voice trembling as he confessed the truth. He was no simple journalist. His father had once hunted Izima and failed. The curse had destroyed his family, leaving him with only one mission: end it forever. He looked into Adesuwa's eyes and said, "I thought you were the monster. Now, I'm not so sure." The sky turned crimson as the blood moon rose. Izima's laughter echoed through every corner of Nneoma. Children cried, animals wailed, and fires lit themselves without a spark. Adesuwa collapsed, clutching her chest, as the mask of Izima glowed bright. The villagers screamed, "She is the curse." And for the first time, Adesuwa wondered, what if they were right? Beneath the palm trees at midnight, Kana revealed the truth. His brother had once worn Izima's mask, and never returned. The curse that haunted Adesuwa had haunted him too. "I tried to protect you," Kana whispered, his eyes heavy with guilt. "But I fear I have only doomed us all." Adesuwa felt her heart ache. Was Kana her shield, or another chain tying her to Izima's fate? They sought answers by the great river, where the oracle lived among rippling waters and drifting lilies. Her voice was neither old nor young, echoing like 1,000 whispers. "Izime cannot be killed," she warned. "She must be bound." She touched Adesuwa's forehead, and visions of fire and blood filled the girl's mind. The oracle smiled faintly. "But the binding requires a sacrifice, one you may not be willing to give." Fear drove Amoka to the elders once more. Kneeling before them, she confessed, "My sister is too dangerous. We cannot hold her back." Her words cracked like thunder. Adesuwa overheard, her heart shattering. The oath of blood, broken. Izima's laughter filled the air, feeding on the pain. And in that moment, Adesuwa realized, betrayal was the sharpest weapon of all. The next day, flames engulfed the village market. Stalls burned, smoke thickened, and the cries of mothers filled the air. The beast, half human, half shadow, rampaged, tearing through wood and fire alike. Villagers fled in terror, but when the monster's eyes glowed, they all saw the same thing. Adesuwa's reflection was staring back. To them, the truth was clear: the curse had taken its full form. In desperation, Obi led Adesuwa to the Circle of Stone, an ancient place where the earth itself was said to breathe. Here, Obi declared, "We can bind her." The ground trembled as Izima's voice roared, "You dare defy me." The mask split with light, flames coiled around Adesuwa's arms, and the circle glowed with ancient power. One choice remained: surrender Izima, or be consumed by her forever. The circle of stone pulsed with fire, and the oracle's words rang true. A sacrifice must be made. The earth demanded blood. Adesuwa's heart froze as she realized the truth: either she must give her life, or take another's. Connor stepped forward, his eyes steady. "If it is me you need, then take me," he whispered. The villagers gasped. Could love survive when fate demanded blood? Haunted by guilt, Amoka woke in the night to Izima's laughter. Shadows crept along her walls, taking the shape of her sister. "You betrayed her," the voice mocked. And for that, you are mine. Amoka screamed, clutching her chest as the shadow wrapped around her. By dawn, her eyes glowed faintly red. The curse had found a new host. In the heart of the night, the ancestors rose, figures cloaked in white smoke, walking among the villagers with silent grace. They gathered at the shrine, their voices blending in chants older than memory. The curse was born in greed, they intoned, and only selfless love can silence it. Their warning echoed through the village, but Izima's shadow grew stronger still, feeding on the fear of the living. Obi searched frantically through his father's old journals, his hands shaking. At last, he found it, a ritual of binding, written in ink and blood. But the words chilled him. The vessel must embrace the spirit until their hearts beat as one. If Adesuwa agreed, she would no longer be herself. And if she refused, the village would burn. His voice broke as he begged her, Adesuwa, there is no other way. The sun vanished, swallowed by darkness. The eclipse had come. Villagers knelt in terror as the sky bled red and shadows stretched across the land. In the center of Nneoma, Adesuwa stood with the mask of Izima in her hands. Drums thundered, winds howled, and Izima's voice screamed through her, I will not be silenced. Lightning split the heavens. The final battle was about to begin. As the eclipse deepened, Adesuwa lifted the mask to her face. The ground shook, flames spiraled, and Izima's spirit poured into her. But instead of breaking, Adesuwa stood tall, her voice thundering, you will not rule me. In that moment, chains of shadow coiled around her arms and shattered one by one. For the first time, Izima's scream was not of power, but of fear. Amoka staggered into the circle, her eyes glowing with Izima's curse. Sister, she cried, I will not let her take you. With trembling hands, she pressed the blade to her palm and spilled her own blood into the earth. The stones blazed with light. Izima howled in rage. Amoka fell to her knees, whispering, forgive me, her sacrifice weakened the shadow, giving Adesuwa one final chance. Inside her mind, Adesuwa stood face to face with Izima. One wore chains of fire, the other a crown of shadows. Their clash shook the spirit world, flame against darkness, will against hunger. You are nothing without me. Izima spat. Adesuwa roared back, I am everything you could never be. With a surge of light, she struck Izima down. The mask cracked and shattered into dust. The eclipse ended. Sunlight returned, golden and warm, falling over a village in silence. The flames had died. The shadows were gone. The people of Nneoma rose slowly, their eyes fixed on Adesuwa, who now knelt by Amoka's lifeless body. She had saved them, but at a cost that would never leave her heart. The ancestors' voices whispered, balance has been restored. Yet Adesuwa knew, scars remain, even after healing. Weeks later, at Amoka's grave, Adesuwa stood with Obi and Connor. The wind rustled gently through the trees as she placed her sister's favorite beads upon the earth. I will carry this story, she vowed, so no one ever forgets her sacrifice, or the shadow that almost consumed us. Her eyes lifted to the horizon. The curse was broken, but Adesuwa knew one truth, every shadow leaves an echo. And sometimes, those echoes wait to return. Years passed, and the village of Nneoma healed. The market was alive again, children's laughter returned, and the shadows that once haunted every corner faded into memory. Yet, under the great Iroko tree at the edge of the forest, a presence lingered. Some say it was Adesuwa's spirit watching over the land. Others whispered that Izima's curse had not been fully broken, only silenced. And so, when the wind blows cold at night and the leaves rustle like whispers in the dark, the people of Nneoma remember, the shadows are never truly gone. They only sleep. On the night of the harvest festival, when drums echoed through Nneoma and lanterns danced in the wind, a strange silence fell. One by one, the flames of the torches flickered and died. The villagers gasped, children clung to their mothers, and even the elders fell quiet. From the dark forest came a sound, soft at first, like wind brushing leaves. But as it grew louder, the people realized it was a voice. A woman's voice, low and haunting. Adesuwa, you thought you could end me. A shiver ran through the crowd. Beneath the earth, deep where Izima's ashes had been buried, something stirred. The shadows were whispering again. A crimson moon rose over Nneoma, painting the village in blood-red light. Dreams turned to nightmares, and even the strongest warriors woke screaming. In the shrine, Obi found a prophecy carved into stone: the shadow will rise thrice. Only on the third will it be silenced. The first was Izima. The second, Amoka. Now, the third had come. Asterisk. Adesuwa, though gone from the world of flesh, walked in the world of spirits. The ancestors gathered around her, placing a crown of fire upon her head. You are the guardian of Nneoma, they declared. Through her bloodline, her power remained. In the mortal world, her daughter, young Kayamika, felt her mother's spirit stir within her. It was her destiny now to end the shadow's reign. Asterisk. The forest roared with black fire as Izima's shadow towered over the land. Villagers fled, but Kayamika stood her ground, Adesuwa's spirit blazing inside her. You cannot destroy me, Izima shrieked. No, Kayamika whispered, raising the ancestral staff, but I can set you free. Light clashed with darkness. The Iroko tree split with thunder. For the first time in centuries, Izima screamed not with rage, but with sorrow. And then, silence. Asterisk. The sun rose gently over Nneoma, golden and pure. For the first time in living memory, there were no shadows lurking at dawn. The people sang, drums roared, and children danced beneath the clear sky. By the shrine, Kayamika placed the ancestral staff into the earth. It is finished, she whispered. And though the wind still whispered through the Iroko tree, it carried no malice. Only peace. The shadows of Nneoma were gone forever. And so, the story of Nneoma comes to a close. The shadows have whispered, the fire has burned, and the village will never be the same again. But remember, not every ending is truly the end. Some shadows wait for the right time to rise again. Thank you for listening to the Shadows of Nneoma, brought to you by Koslans Studio, where stories breathe and legends live on. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of mystery and destiny, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life. Until next time, keep your lights burning bright, and beware the whispers in the dark.